Okay, welcome to lesson 2 of our probability class. So, in lesson 2, we are going to talk about compound experiment, and I want you to have no much idea on compound experiment. Now, when we talk about compound experiment, we are talking about an experiment when you do an experiment more than once, or you perform 2 or more experiments at the same time. That's what compound experiment is about. So unlike simple experiment where you experiment just once, like throwing a coin, compound experiment is twice, like throwing a coin twice. Perfect. Now, let's look at this example. An example is tossing a coin twice. We are going to look at 4 examples of compound experiment here. And then these 4 examples are very important for you to keep to answer questions up front. So now the first one is tossing a coin. And tossing a coin is also known as tossing 2 coins at the same time. So you take 2 coins and toss at the same time. It's the same as you are tossing a coin 2 times. The outcome or the sample space of tossing a coin twice will be the same as tossing 2 coins. Now, when you toss 2 coins, you are going to have head or tail for the first outcome for the 2 coins, or you have first of all, you're going to have head and head, and then you have head and tail for the second outcome. For the third outcome, you're going to have tail and head. Can be another event, another outcome of the third event, and then we have tail for the outcome of the last event. So in tossing a coin twice, these are the outcomes you are going to obtain: head, or head tail, or tail head, or tail. Great. Let's look at the sample space then. The sample space then can be drawn this way, and we can hurriedly say, let me pick up a pen. You find out that these ones will represent the first coin. These outcomes are the outcomes of the first coin, and these ones are the outcomes of the second coin. And then you have to pair them up. H will give you H. There's the first H, and then H and T will give you HT, and then we have TH will give you TH here, and then TT will give you TT here. Perfect. So now let's move on. We find out that these will be the sample spaces when we toss a coin twice, or when we toss 2 coins at the same time. And then we have head, we have head tail, we have tail, we have tail head. I want you to take this into huge consideration, knowing that when we talk about compound experiment, actually talking about compound experiment, we are talking about having done experiment more than once, or 2 or more experiment at the same time. Take note of that very carefully. 2 or more experiment at the same time. All right, let's go on. So we find out that like we said, compound experiments happens when you do experiment more than once or twice. I want you to catch that, so I'm repeating it over and over again. So now the example 2 will be tossing 3 fair coin. It's the same as tossing a coin 3 times. So we've done tossing a coin 2 times. We are actually working on tossing a coin 3 times now. So that one, we have first toss. You have your outcome for the first toss. You know, when you throw a coin, you either get a head or a tail, right? And so in the second outcome, each of the first outcome would have 2 possibilities. And so in the second outcome, you find out that they have the head get its 2 possibilities of head and tail, and then the tail also get its 2 possibilities of head and tail again. That's the second toss. And in the third experiment, each of the outcomes of the second toss is going to get another 2 possibilities again. So it will move on if you should be tossing 10 times. Each of the possible outcomes will be having 2 possibilities, and it goes on and on and on. So this one we are just doing for 3, and the third toss will look like this. Exactly. So the third toss now look like this. So to find the possible outcome, you have to link your lines and check out true. The first outcome become head. The second outcome become head, and then tail. And then we have head, tail, head, and then head, tail. We have tail, head. We have tail, head, tail. Then we have tail, tail, head, and then tail, tail, tail. These are the possible outcomes that we are going to obtain. Special way of actually showing how you can work this out is by drawing a table with it. Drawing a table with it. Let me take my red pen. Drawing a table with it. We actually compare tossing a coin twice outcomes with tossing a coin once. This will give you tossing a coin 3 times. So let's get that here. Head, 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 tail, then tail, head, then we have tail, tail, and pairing this with we have head here, and we have tail. So we have first coin, 1 coin, and we have two outcomes of 2. So catch that perfect like that. Oops. Okay. So you pair this one with this. You pair this with this. And what do you have? Head, head, head. Pair this one with the first one as well. And what do you have? Tail, head. Sorry, and then another head. Perfect. So then you go to the second one, you have head, head, and then tail, and then you have tail, head, tail, and it moves on for this, for this, for this, for this. Of course, you can draw. I know you can do it now. So this one is a 2 coin, 2 coins. This one you are doing the table for, and then this one is 1 coin, 1. So 1 and 2 coins, and you're able to get your answer very right, as the same as drawing it in the table form. In the table form. Perfect. Here we go. So 8 outcomes for tossing a coin 3 times or tossing 3 fair coins. Now let's move on. We have compound experiment again. We have example 3, throwing 2 dice at the same time. When we did a simple experiment of throwing a die, we have outcomes of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's try throwing that same die twice, or throwing 2 dice at the same time. And in doing that, you're going to get these outcomes of the first die. You know, the die has different faces, and this will be the outcome of the second die, different faces. And if you should be pairing them, 1, 1, you have 1, 1, 1, 2, you have 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, and you write all of the outcomes out here. And then let's see what that will be. This becomes this way. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6, and it moves on until you reach 36. So how many possible outcomes do we have? 36 possible outcomes of tossing a die twice or tossing 2 dice. All right. Sometimes, we can actually also use the tree version to actually also find this workout. We can have our first outcome of the first die, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. The last one will be 6. And these are the outcomes. And so what do? You draw 6 possible outcomes for each of the outcomes of the first die. And that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And then for these answers, we have these outcomes. We have 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, then 1, 6. Great. Then we move on to 2 and do the same thing up from here. So we do the same thing. So with this we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And we do 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, and then move on and on and on and on. Do the same thing for 3, do the same thing for 4, do the same thing for 5, do the same thing for 6, and get all your outcome in a tree version. Let's move on to our last example. And in this last example, we have tossing a coin and rolling a die at the same time. And in doing that, we are tossing a coin and we are rolling a die. All these two possible experiment at the same time. And in doing that, we have this. This one becomes the outcomes of the coin, and these are the outcomes of the die. And you know what we do? We pair H1, H2, H3, H4, and it moves on until you get H6. And these are the possible outcomes that you can have when you toss a coin and you actually toss a die at the same time. All right. So what will be the tree version form? The tree version form. So the tree version form is going to be the tree version form. You're going to write the outcome for the coin, and then you have head and tail. And you compare that with the outcomes of the coin. As easy as that. And then you can have your possible outcomes for tossing a coin and a die. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have H1, you have H2, you have H3, you have H4, H5, and then H6. The same applies when you have actually a tail. You actually link all of that to there. So you have T1, T2, and it moves on and on and on and on and on until you are done with your pairing. Outcome of the die first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. And pair all of that with the outcome of the coin, head, tail. And then go to the second one, head, tail. And then go to the third one, head, tail. So you're going to do all that for 4, 5, and 6. You have your final answers as H1, of course, H1, or you have 1H. Then you have 1T, 2H, 2T, 3H, 3T, and it goes on and on and on and on until you are on T6 or 6T. Remember, 1T is also can be written as 1T1, just like that. So we have 1T is the same as T1, or 1H is the same as 1H is the same as H1. Let's get that and catch that quickly and easily. And if you are done, you can get your possible outcomes for this particular experiment. All right.